You are now listening to Talk Your Jits podcast.
Welcome back to the Talk Your Jits podcast. This podcast is, as the name implies, all about jiu-jitsu. I'm your host, Lamar Smith, and today's guest is a black belt who owns DVG Jiu-Jitsu located in Halawa, Hawaii. Ladies and gentlemen, Garrett Whitman.
Hey, Lamar. Hey.
Hello. Fantastic, sir. How are you today?
Super. Pumped.
Man, that's good.
That's
always good.
Any day you get to do jiu-jitsu is a good day.
I was like, you can sit down and talk or train jiu-jitsu is always a good day.
That's right.
All right. Well, first and foremost, Matt, I would like to, thank you for taking time out to do an episode with me today. Greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on and spreading the good word of jiu-jitsu around the community.
Yes, sir, man. So without further ado, if you want to formally introduce yourself again, by all means, and let's hear about your jiu-jitsu journey.
Yeah, sure. I'm Garrett Whitman from Cypress, California, originally. Grew up there, started training when I was 18 in Costa Mesa under Professor Mike Tomaselli, who is a top black belt under Master Joe Moreira, and spent my whole apprenticeship under Professor Mike and got the opportunity real early to teach a kids class. He gave me the reins of the kids program, and I ran with it and got a lot of experience through that. I think when I was a purple belt or a brown belt, he started handing off a class here, a class there for the adult classes. So I've been teaching for going on 12 years, I would say now. I was barely a blue belt when I started teaching. So,
yeah. Man, that sounds like me.
yeah, it's such a lucky position to be in, because there's those little spots inside of an academy there's very few of them, and you got to count yourself very lucky if you're picked by the professor as somebody who's, one, got that kind of gift for teaching, and two, have the availability to be there for that class and be reliable. Because the last thing he wants to do is have to drop everything and come cover a class he thought he had covered. So, yeah, I moved to Hawaii in 2019. Actually, it was 2020, March. The pandemic had just started.
I was just about to say that. Like, that's pandemic time.
Oh, yeah. We flew on a flight. Me and my fiance at the time flew here. Her whole family lives here. They've lived here for going on 8 years, I would say. And so we flew here on a flight where it was just she and I and maybe 5 people behind us. And, we had double masks on. You remember the N95s that were coveted? We had that on. We had like a bandana over it just to be safe. Everybody was real worried, and but we got over here safe and sound and set up shop here. My in-laws, my father-in-law, his wife, and their 4 children were training at an academy in Kaneohe, which is about 5 miles from here, maybe 6. And they were training, 4 days a week. And I just started teaching privates out of my backyard to him and his family and a few of his training partners, and got to meet their instructor, Professor Brandon Gross, who has become my business partner. We decided to team up, and last September we opened DVG Jiu-Jitsu here in Halawa. Yeah, and so there's 2 black belts in the house, and so we have a packed schedule and got a lot of people in the doors, and things are going really well over here.
Awesome. So how did you discover? I usually say how did you discover jiu-jitsu, but how did jiu-jitsu find you? Because that's what it always seems like it is, like how it be.
Yeah, well, I think for a lot of people my age, I'm 34. I don't know how you are. How old are you?
36. Nope, I'm sorry. Man. Yeah, 36. Yep, 36.
Yeah, you got to double check these days. We're not keeping track. But I think we all found it very similar ways, that not early days, but I'd say the middle ages of MMA, and Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, watching those fights. Me and my father and my uncle and my cousins and my brother would all watch the UFC anytime it was on. Back then, it was only like one show a month, right?
Yeah.
And so we would go over to their house. We'd buy the pay-per-view. We'd all watch Chuck Liddell knock somebody out with an overhand right.
Wild overhand right. Yep.
That got me, kind of, it sparked something about MMA and fighting. And, I've never been a tough guy, but when, I saw guys fight on the ground, it always seemed like, oh, this is where the smarter guys go down, and like they got to be technical and smart and tactical and use every opportunity that's presented to themselves to finish this fight. And so I always I identified as some sort of a ground fighter. When I was 15, my neighbor, who is my oldest friend, John Statz, he's a cousin of the Gracies. He's cousins Henner and Hedon in Torrance. And we didn't know much about jiu-jitsu. He trained a little bit with them, but we started pushing the furniture aside in his living room and rolling around, locking up triangles on the wrong side over on the shoulder side, and, just going after it for hours on end. I remember the rug burns, and they had this carpet that like shed all over you. You're wiping that carpet fuzz out of your eyes, and let's keep going. That just sparked it. I loved training with him, and but I was a competitive golfer through high school and college. And so in college, I delivered tile to a jiu-jitsu academy that was set to open in a couple weeks. I walked in, and there was a big burly guy, probably 260 pounds, sparring with a 230-pound former Marine sniper, and they were going at it. And this big guy, at the time, brown belt Mike Tomaselli, was just handling this enormous jack dude. And I was watching and just fascinated. And he talked me up, as any smart jiu-jitsu owner would do. And he convinced me to come back for the grand opening in a few days. And I did, and just basically never left. I started, I took jobs that would allow me to get off work in time to come to the kids' class and help out. Then refused to take any job for the next 10 or 11 years that wouldn't let me off at 3:00.
Oh man, we are one and the same.
Oh my God. Oh man. Just cutting the legs out from under myself career wise, just so that I could train, but it's paid off in the long run. I now get to do what I love, and I get to spread jiu-jitsu and try to instill that same love that I've always felt for it in my students.
Yeah, man, that's so crazy how that works out, because I will be the type of person, no matter what day, I will go to work, no matter. And then once I started training and I started getting hooked, every job was like, I can't work Tuesdays and Thursdays. I cannot. I refuse to work Tuesdays and Thursdays. I would tell them I would give up a weekend. I will work weekends. And everyone was like, okay, you would rather work a weekend versus having weekdays off? I say, yes. Give me my Tuesday and Thursdays off, and we have no problems.
What are you missing? You missing Saturday open mats, or what are you doing?
We wasn't running Saturday open mats just yet. When we start. No, actually we were. It's just that the job that I had was like, it was midnights. So I would get off of work at like 8 a.m, go home, rest for like an hour, and then go to training on Saturday mornings. But yeah, that's how addicted I was, first starting out.
Yeah.
Like I had my schedule, I had to work around it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to make it forward in jiu-jitsu, you kind of have to catch that bug. Otherwise, it's a real slow trudge up that hill of getting tapped, tapping, getting tapped, getting tapped. So, yeah. What lineage are you under again?
I'm under Zachary Holston, who's a black belt under Joe Moira.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Zachary Holston. Yeah,
man, that's my guy. That's guy.
That's so cool. Yeah, we share the Moreira lineage, and so my friend, how it goes, and Joe Moreira's lineage is different than anybody else's. Joe being one of the first people in jiu-jitsu to really put his stuff on VHS and distribute it to the masses, regardless of lineage, regardless of color. regardless of any any discriminating factor. He wanted everybody to have the same jiu-jitsu. Where I don't know if you know the story of Sam Harris, or I'm sorry, not Sam Harris. Anyway, his first name will come to me. Professor Harris used to train under the Gracies. They were pretty protective of their knowledge. They ended up kicking him out. He went to the Machados. They were pretty protective of their knowledge. They ended up kicking him out, and he found his way to Joe Moreira. And Joe Moreira said, "My friend, you can train with me." And so it's kind of like the way it is with Joe. Is everybody is his friend. Yeah, he tries to get everybody inside his family bubble, and he's very inclusive. I've always loved that about him.
Yeah, love that guy. So since you've been, a Joe Moreira guy, I always ask this question to everybody: like, how long did it take you to speak Joe?
Oh, well, I was really lucky. Mike Tomaselli's school, it was Joe Moreira headquarters from 2015.
That's right.
Until today. And so I was lucky enough to be, once Joe was tired of smashing Mike, I became his next favorite dummy. So I'd say I was about a purple belt at the time. And, he would just, how he demonstrates his smash pass, and he'll just kind of sit there and he'll look around at people.
Sit there, yes.
While he's talking and sweating in your eyes. And I fell in love with it, man. I loved it. It felt like he was lifting me up, and I got the opportunity. He would always invite me to come train. He had a small studio in Irvine, California as well, that he would teach at a couple days a week and do his privates there. But he was at Mike's Academy Mondays and Wednesdays without fail for years and years and years. And I got the opportunity to learn Joe really, really quickly. In fact, we had him out here not long ago for a seminar, and his English is progressing. It does get better, but there's still a lot of people who don't speak Joe. And so as he's teaching, I'm trying to find moments where I can kind of interject and almost translate for people. And he looks at me while I'm doing it. And he goes, "Why you do this? I speak in English."
I know, right?
Yeah, and I was just like, "Oh, you're right, absolutely. Let me just quiet down and go back to the background." But yeah, he's one of a kind, and I just love him so much. He's given me so many opportunities through his black belts, Kami Sefdari, Ed Beneville, Pat Tassin, James Baran, all these black belts that he had in the Orange County area. They gave me opportunities. I've trained a bunch with Cub Swanson. I've trained a bunch with all of their top guys. And it's thanks to kind of, just always being around Joe. And I was actually in Joe's corner with Professor Mike for Joe's last competitive match against Adelson Salza, where he ended up breaking Adelson's ribs to end that match in a smash pass that he baited.
In a smash pass.
And
wow.
And, that was super inspiring for me to have two. I think they were both coral belts, black and red at the time, going at it out on the mats, and the whole gym was just silent watching these two guys go at it. It was unlike any other match I've ever seen. Imagine like 10, 15 years ago having Hickson compete against Jean-Jacques or something like that. That's what it felt like for us. So it was just a magical moment that just inspired.
That's awesome. And that's the video that I show, because my instructor showed me this video so many times when he was talking about Joe, Joe's famous smash pass. He's like, yeah, Joe broke a guy's rib with this pass. And we like, really? So he pulled the video up, and I can't tell you how many times I watched that video, and to feel that smash pass from Joe is surreal, man. It's so surreal. And like you said, like he will be so in the moment where he'll get you in a smash and just stop and just start talking. I've been there the last couple of times Joe has come to Detroit and did a seminar when he worked smash pass. He was doing what was it? I think it was just a bulldog pass, and it was one of those, and he went for it, and I think in the midst of him talking, a white belt asked him a question, and Joe, just being Joe, just stopped in the middle of the smash and got comfortable and started talking. So
I've got details for you.
So I'm under there like, all right, Joe, he's gonna stop talking in a minute. I'm just gonna hold out. He just kept going. I think I was like about 2 minutes in. I'm like, all right, I'm under here. I'm under here.
It's like getting caught in the north-south
okay.
man.
Nah, not yet. No, we ain't got that one yet.
Oh man, he's gone. Has he visited you lately and spread his principles and his rules?
Always, man. His principles.
My principles
and rules. Yeah.
You know, his principles and his rules are, and I try to, because I have a lot of influence here on the island. You know, Clark Gracie makes a lot of appearances here. We actually have a Clark Gracie seminar coming up on Sunday.
Awesome.
But, you know, he's a super young, like he's about our age. He's strong. He's as Joe would say, he's flexy. And so he's capable of a lot of the things that you and I are, but Joe being 60 or in the neighborhood of 60, Joe is no longer going for wild, crazy stuff. Yet his jujitsu still works, and it's because he throws out all the junk that is body flexibility, strength dependent, and he just uses the things that work structurally and for him at the age that he is. And you know, he emphasizes this the way you're gonna do for the rest of your life. And once I'm his age, you know, I see myself rolling a lot more like Joe than like me. So
yeah,
you know, I'm kind of trying to cherish the moments that I have now where I can do the flexy stuff, and I'm looking ahead to see what I'm gonna have to do in 20, 30 years.
Oh yeah, because like I don't think I've told this story before, but this is my instructor was getting his black belt, and I had the honor to be a part of his test. And this was like I was 2-stripe white belt when I first met Joe. So that was like a big culture shock too, because like you heard the name, and then it's like you not only get to meet this guy, he's family, So he's going over like principles and rules and stuff like that. And it's just was so amazing to hear, like, every time Joe comes out, everything is the same. Principles, rules, principles, rules, principle, rules. And no matter how many times he explains this stuff, it's always something new. It's always evolving. Like, one time he came over and he was talking about, the back row snake. And then next thing you know, like, a little while later, we get the macaco bolo snake. And they're like, oh, what's the macaco bolo snake? And then we were watching it, and it's like, it's still the back row. It's just a small variation of the back row. And he's like, yeah, I'm not flipping all the way over anymore. So we just going to make an adjustment, and boom, there you go.
Yep.
So I was like, even in his 60s, or I think he's like 62, I think, or somewhere in there.
Sounds right.
But it's like, right. But like, even at this, at his age, he's still training hard. He's constantly evolving. Like, I get tagged on, stuff on Instagram and stuff, where he'll send me like, little snippets of everything he's doing. I'm like, dude, that's goals right there. To be able to do everything that you're doing, moving like you're moving at 60-some years old.
Yeah, he's still training with Marco. He's still doing all these things that, man, I've eaten a few leg kicks from Marco over the years. And I will tell you, at 62, I'd find it hard to get out of bed to go train Marco. That guy can hit.
They're crazy, man.
Yeah, they're just super motivated, and to see somebody like be able to, because I see a lot of people, and by the time they're in their 40s, they're looking ahead to retirement in most careers that people do. But when it comes to jiu-jitsu, the juice just gets sweeter, and it seems like he's more motivated than ever to, I'm going to Poland. Like, he just got back from Poland. I'm going to California to get my second degree on my black belt in a couple weeks. And
congratulations!
Thank you. And he's going to be there and I'm going to have a chance to see him. And last time he was here, I got to roll with him, and, just still having that presence in my life is something that I hope to be able to pass on to my students and the people who I influence. When I'm 60, I want them to be as grateful for me as I am for Master Joe. And so
Definitely.
it's something I look at it from so many different perspectives, just because he's such a dynamic human. He's gone through a full life. He's moved from halfway across the world. He's had families, and he's got kids who are Junior. I love Junior. I love Priscilla. Like his kids are just like, they've been, the whole package of Joe is just such a perspective shifter for me as a jiu-jitsu instructor. So yeah,
he's definitely the one you want to model after.
Yeah.
And I idolize the guy. Every Joe guy comes on, that comes on the show, that's all we talk about is Master Joe. And like you said, just to be able to just soak up all that knowledge he gives and just be like, yeah, this is how I want to be doing jiu-jitsu once I'm in my 60s. I don't want to stop. Like, I feel that now, like, I'm like, yeah, I'll be, hopefully testing for black belt next year. And I'm thinking like, okay, what's next?
Congratulations.
I want this, thank you. Like, this is only the beginning, as they say, like, that's when jiu-jitsu starts, when you hit your black belt.
Yeah. I like to tell my students, like, as you progress, yes, you get more of a bird's eye view and you can see more of what can happen in jiu-jitsu, but you're also, you're so much more aware of where you lack and the things that you don't do well yet, because you have that heightened awareness, that heightened experience. You're just so much more aware of your shortcomings. So, my professor, Mike Tomaselli, he does 8. I mean, I think my black belt test took 10 or 11 hours. And, it's a 10-page front and back, full of positions, technique, sweeps, everything you've got to demonstrate. And for me, being an instructor, I had to teach it to a level that he would be satisfied with. And, Joe does something very similar for his guys that he promotes.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't know. Does Professor Holston do the same thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
everything Joe does, like testing wise, from like, as many techniques, rules, principles, different positions, that's our test.
Yeah. And, that's opening a business and seeing you want it to be a successful business. Mike, my professor, he was much more focused in the purity of jiu-jitsu, of being like, okay, you're going to have to be a hard dude and you're going to take your lumps, but you better keep showing up and I'll keep investing in you as long as you keep showing up.
Right.
But there's not much hand holding in the Joe Moreira lineage, in my opinion. But, opening a school here, especially in Hawaii, where, not everybody is a super athlete, not everybody, jiu-jitsu is a very big part of this community, but they have the same problems on the mainland of, there's a 98% or a 90% attrition rate through white belt, where you only maybe get 1 out of 10 people are going to make it to blue belt. And I would say that's the case at most academies around the world. And so our goal when we opened this academy was to have that flipped on its head, and to have it be 90% of the people who start jiu-jitsu, they get their blue belt at the very least. Not just from a business perspective, but from a self-defense, a life perspective. We want to make sure that people get the most out of jiu-jitsu that we can offer. And so, we've concentrated very hard. My business partner, Professor Brandon Gross, he's worked his butt off creating an intro to jiu-jitsu program that is pretty comprehensive. It teaches them all the positions, teaches them the basic submissions, teaches them all the transitions between those positions and some very common situations that happen. So once these folks make it through that program, they graduate up into our complete schedule. They can attend all of our classes. And it's not like you and I had it, where our first day we just got smashed. I don't know about you, but I got smashed.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what was happening. You know, you don't even, you're like, what was that? You'll ask people. Whereas our guys, by the time they start rolling, they're like, oh, was that the Kimura? And that was from side mount, right? Okay, what did I do wrong? They're able to take their failure right at the beginning of rolling. They're able to take that failure and do something constructive with it, instead of taking 6 months, maybe even a year, to even catch on to what's happening to them. Because we do some hand holding in those first 6 weeks, and it really does make a huge difference in the quality of jiu-jitsu fighter that we have in our academy. We've got some gnarly 3-stripe white belts. We've only been open 8 months. And all of our guys who, I would say the highest ranking person we started from 0 is 3-stripe white belt now. And those guys are good, man. You know, I have to tire them out before I'm able to hit easy submissions. There are no easy submissions until I tire them out. Whereas most people at most schools, you know, 8 months in, I'm still catching easy submissions on those people, just because they don't know what positions they're in danger in, what arm positions are stupid to put your arm there, you know. And so we've just seen a rocket launch of success in our new students, and a lot of experienced jiu-jitsu players are attracted to the kind of theory that we have going here too.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's like with our school, we're a small school. We always get wrestlers, like extremely strong wrestlers. So it's like, you know, just as time goes on, you know, it's like I'm getting older, and everyone who comes in that wrestles are getting younger and younger. So it's just like, oh my goodness. But yeah, like you said, just like even like our white belts now, compared to like when I started, are just mountains and like leaps and bounds beyond where I was as a white belt. It's this point, like you said, to the point where it's like, yeah, I'm not catching anything easy. It's like I gotta work for this stuff.
Yeah,
because we got one.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. We got one guy in particular, white belt, strong guy. You know, a lot of heart, and he just goes. And he just goes, just straight out this, boom, straight out the gate. It's like, all right, we're doing this. It's no warning. It's like, slap, bump, let's go. And he just goes. And it's like, all right, we're going to be here for a while.
How experienced is he?
I think he is he's a 3-stripe white belt now.
So he's not wrestling anymore. He's doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if he even wrestled. He just got it. For some reason, you know, that's
amazing. Yeah, that's rare.
Yeah, like once he gets that, you know, he's one of those guys. Like, you know, he has a potential. Once he gets like the fine tuning and stuff, he'll be good. He'll definitely be good.
I think there's a big difference between people who just started off wrestling, like they come in the doors and they're a wrestler. They're trying to still accomplish things in the roles that are wrestling goal related. They're trying to not allow you to get control of their limbs. They're trying to pin you to the ground. They're trying to have control of you. I'm not really impressed by that as much. I want to see somebody try jiu-jitsu stuff. I want to see them go for things, because once they start going for things, I know all the counters, and you know all the counters. And so if they're not going for anything, if they're just playing this denial game, kind of like, remember Brendan Schaub versus Cyborg, right?
Yeah.
If you're just playing this denial game, yeah, you look really good, and this guy can't do anything to me. It's like, yeah, but you're not doing anything to him either.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, he's not doing anything, but you're not doing anything either.
That's right. You're not giving him the openings that he can very easily take advantage of. So I'm impressed by somebody who's willing to go for things, even though they have a background. We've got a few guys like that here who have a background in wrestling who start from their butt. They'll sit on their butt, they'll slap bump, and they'll put their hands up in that seated guard, and they're playing. And yeah, they are wrestling up. They are just coming on top right away a lot of the time. But at least they're starting on bottom, and they're playing jiu-jitsu, and they're going for things. But I have conversations with those guys. I'm like, hey, man, yeah, you're doing great. I'm really proud of you. I'm sure you're enjoying not getting tapped. But by not getting tapped, you're also not learning everything that you could be learning. So giving people a vulnerable moment by going for something you're not 100% sure about is what's going to allow that growth for those guys. And, you know, the sooner we can get them on track for taking some risks, for doing something outside their comfort zone, the faster they're going to shoot through the roof. Like, I'm sure that 3-stripe white belt he's willing to try stuff, right? He's willing to go for stuff. And that's why he's progressing, because he's not playing that weird conservative wrestling game.
Yep. And it's like, that's the message that we try to, you know, relay to people. Like, you know, jiu-jitsu is one of those things, like, you get out what you put in. Like, if you're showing up, busting your hump, you're going to progress. But if you're just sitting on the sidelines, you know, half-assing in class, and you're wondering why this new kid just, you know, blew right past you, you know, what can you do? If you're not training hard, if you're not training going out to get it, you're not going to gain nothing from it.
Man, when I was a blue belt, purple belt, I would get up early in the morning. I'd go for a run. And now thinking back, I'm like, man, I'm not running. I don't want to lose all this muscle I've gained. But back then it was like, I just need to work. You know, I know there are people working harder than me, and I don't even know what the right work is to do, but I need to work harder. And so, you know, until I was a brown or a black belt, and I started feeling like I had some jiu-jitsu ability, then I started lifting weights and adding some strength to my game. And that's when things started really taking off for me. Because I was always undersized. I was always about 160 pounds, 170 pounds. But, you know, started lifting some weights, added 20 pounds of muscle in, you know, 5 years or so, and felt now this is jiu-jitsu. Now I'm kind of a dangerous player, you know. But before I was kind of very reliant on tactics and positioning. Now I almost feel like I can get away with some sloppiness because of that added strength. And so, you know, maybe, who knows, maybe in the next few years I'll slim back down just to make myself better
again. That's weird, man, because, you know, just sitting here thinking about like the progression from like white to blue, blue to purple, purple to brown. And, you know, because I work with my instructor, and we always talking, and then like after my brown belt test, you know, I come to work, I'm like limping. And he's like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" He's like, I'm like, you know. He's like, "Oh, you must have had a test or something." And I'm like, you know, something like that. But we always talk about that. Like now, you know, I work out so much. I'm like at the gym, you know, 3-4 days out the week, 2 times a day. I'm training 3-4 days a week. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what the hell am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? And he's like, "Oh, you getting ready for your black belt. Like, you getting your black belt body together." And I'm like, all right, that's one way to look at it. Because I never thought about it like that. I'm like, I just like doing jiu-jitsu and I'm getting in shape. He's like, "No, you literally getting ready for your black belt body."
Yeah.
Because you know what, you know what's about to happen, and you know what's coming up, and you know what comes after that. So you're just preparing yourself. I'm like, well, I guess I am now. So
with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, we have a responsibility as the experienced guys in the academies to make sure that we represent jiu-jitsu in a way that can kind of silence the doubters. It can confirm the beliefs of those inspired by us, and it can, you know, defend jiu-jitsu from the challengers who will continue to walk through the doors, and they're not stopping. It's unbelievable, especially living in Hawaii where you have so many military guys. These are war fighters, you know. We have, luckily I look military, I'm not military, but my business partner is a local guy, and so he appeals to the local people, but he also is such a genuine, friendly guy that he kind of he breaks the stereotype for the military folks who are here that think all the local people hate him. And
Okay.
and I break the stereotype for all the local people who think that everybody who's a transplant is a real jerk. And I feel like there's a great balance that we've achieved here. But going back to the war fighters, is these guys come in here doing their Army combatives, their Marine fighting styles, and they want to come in and they want to learn jiu-jitsu, but really they're here to test themselves and to see if they're able to am I tough guy, and I think it's our responsibility being these higher belts to show them, hey, there's something worth learning here. And some of them, the only way to convince them of that is tapping them.
Yeah.
Several times.
Like we have a new guy. He's about our age. He's done a lot of wrestling and he's been in the Army, so he does Army combative. And me and him rode, and then I'm just kind of like just filling him out, and he's very, very aggressive, very, very strong. And he called me in the arm Americana, so I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, okay, so I gotta turn it up just a little bit. So we're playing. I'm just kind of like just being a little lazy about it, and he's working. He's transitioning, trying to pin me down and pass guard and everything. I'm just recomposing, and we're going. And I think he had me in bottom side, and all I heard was.
That's what you want to hear?
I was like, oh, somebody getting tired? He's like, no. And I was like, okay, now it's time to eat. It's time to end the fight. So quick little sweep to cruise. I think, circle snake out. He went to turtle. It rolled to a crucifix and ended with a modified kata hajime from crucifix. So, but yeah, he was just like, so surprised. I was like, yeah, man. He's like, man, we was moving and he's like pouring down sweat and I'm just chilling. Yeah. I'm like, I'm cool. I can go again. He's like, man, I'm like, cause you using all this energy. You just want to just do this. Yeah. So it's like, once I felt that your body shift, your energy started to drain, and you took that big gasp of air, I was like, yeah, it's time to kill now.
Yeah, I like doing that from time to time, but now that I'm a black belt, you have a little bit of a responsibility to not smash, kind of like you were saying. You were letting him work and you were keeping yourself safe, and that's why you weren't tired, is because you knew in areas where he didn't know whether he had to go hard to hold on to you, you were like, he might have side mount here, but I'm pretty safe. I got my frames in. I'm okay.
I'm okay.
But my favorite thing to do is as soon as the bell rings, you can feel their body kind of relax, and you go, oh, no, keep going. and they realize that I'm the clock. That beep doesn't end the round. I'm going to tell you when the round's over. And so sometimes I'll just make somebody go like 3 rounds with me and just let them quit. Let them say, okay, I'm done.
Oh yeah, that's so fun.
And it just lets them know, and it gives you an opportunity by creating that situation. It gives you the opportunity to describe exactly what you described, which is, hey man, you were going really hard because you didn't know where you had to go hard, but I wasn't going as hard because I know where I need to go hard and where I don't. And you need to, put your head down, study, focus on when somebody's teaching, listen hard, learn, watch the more experienced guys roll, see when they're working hard and when they're able to relax, and that's how they're gonna reach the next level, and you're gonna create an army of just monsters over there.
Yeah, and I mean, because I've learned that from my instructor. When I started, training, and I really got the rolling, and we would roll, and I'm just trying everything I can, and he's just chilling. humming. He might say something crazy, or he'll hum a tune or start singing, or he'll start talking to other people in the classroom. And it would be so frustrating. Because like, dude, I'm trying to kill you and you're having conversations with everybody else right now.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, he started teaching me that, like, just you got to relax, you got to breathe, you got to learn how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Once you can get to that point, everything else just kind of falls into place. So like, I think this was like mid blue, all like, half a purple, to purple, where I was like, okay, let me put this into theory, and that's how it became. Like, I would chill, I would start seeing, I'm like, okay, let me see if I can get away with talking to somebody else, or let me see if I get away with just humming a song. But now I'll be in the middle of a role teaching other people across the room.
That's right.
I'll be rolling. I'll be like, I'll be in bottom side. I'll be peeking out like, hey, fix your bases over there, and just go back to fighting.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's so funny, man. It's so funny.
People. It's like, hey, how are you keeping track of what's happening in their role, and you're still beating me up over here? It's
right.
pretty mind-boggling. Well, I did a lot of weapons training at Tomaselli School. We had this stud there named Kenny Smith, and he loves weapons. He loves guns and knives, and Mike bought all of the blue guns and blue knives inspired by him, and started tucking them in our waistbands and adding that as a layer of the training. And so now you're just super sensitive to where people's hands are and where they're reaching, and his hand's getting really close to his waistband. You gotta pin it down. But yeah, just having that extra awareness, the higher up you get, allows you you have more bandwidth to work with, so you can kind of pay attention to what's going on around you. You're like, oh man, who thumbs up this song? Who did? This is my playlist. Who put this song in my playlist?
I know, right?
It's great.
Yeah, because we, one thing that we always kind of go back and touch on every now and then. Like, he will have like two people just roll. Like, you know what? You two in the middle just roll, and it'll just go for just like a quick little minute. He's like, all right, that's all what you do. Start again. But close your eyes. Close your eyes and roll. And so we have those random classes where we'll roll blindfolded, or like I said, we just sit there and close our eyes, and it's just like amazing to see they're just how they like so much stuff opens up more because you're not focusing on what you're seeing. And I'm like, that's how we're able to do that. That's how me, and our instructor in the other brown belt, we're able to do that because we've been here before. Like, we know, like, I don't have to look at you to know, like, okay, you about to lift your, you about to lift your knee, or your arm, tensed up because you're trying to, pass or trying to get an underhook. Like, I can feel all that. Like, I don't need my eyes to do jiu-jitsu. Right. Like, once you start to understand that, that's when, everything just goes like, whoa.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've never done blindfolded. I close my eyes a lot. One of my favorite things to do is to have everybody roll with two tennis balls.
We do that too. Yeah.
And I got that from Mike Tomaselli, and it gasses out all the guys who are strength dominant because they can't hang on. And so everything gets movement gets added in areas where they'd normally be able to park it and take a rest. And once you let go of those balls and once you put them off to the side, then the game seems like it just opens up. It's like working in a tiny little section of it, and then you take the balls out and you just go, okay, now Kimuras are back. Now my wrist control is back. I got that Dagestani handcuff again. You guys can't stop me now. But if there's grips allowed from the jump all the time, some people get dependent on those grips. Same thing with sight, if you get dependent on what you see instead of like where his weight shifts, you're gonna miss. You're gonna be late to doing whatever you need to do, for sure.
Yeah, we definitely done the tennis ball drills. It's like what he'll do is like he'll have like the lower belts have one tennis ball, so they'll obviously have a free hand. Us will have two. So I'm like, come on, man. He's like, nah, you're upper belts. Y'all be fine. Y'all take the two, they'll take the one, and then you guys roll. But yeah, because like it gets you out of that mindset of trying to just like just hold on so tight to your opponent, and all you doing is just pulling and everything. So by the time the round's over, your arms are spent, your fingers are hurting. Because you're just like, you're just tight like this, like for like 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
you know the feeling after a competition gi round where your fingers have been holding on to a grip, just right up here.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say all in there, just
your forearm looks like your calf. Just giant, veiny, I need a banana.
All right, for sure, man. But that's exactly the same thing we do, man. So
yeah, using different ways. It's so hard to open people's eyes to what they need to be focused on, and trying different things and having them start like situational sparring, having them just start from a position like we do. We have our intro program, we've got our fundamentals class, and we've got our mixed level classes. So in the intro program, there's no rolling. It's all instruction and details and learning the transitions, positions, and most common submissions. Once they get up to the fundamentals program, that is our blue belt curriculum. That's all the techniques that I and both myself and Professor Brandon believe a blue belt needs to have in order to deserve it. And so at the end of that class, we're introducing those folks who aren't comfortable going up to the mixed level where all the sparring is. We give them king of the hill or king of the mat, where, for example, yesterday I was teaching north-south escapes. And so I taught 3 escapes. And at the end of class, I said, okay, you on top, north-south, you on bottom, north-south. Person on bottom, your job is to escape either back to side mount, bottom, guard, stand up, whatever it is you want to do to get out of north-south. Person on top, if you're able to hold them down, you get to stay in. If you're the person on bottom and you get out, now you're on top. And in 5 minutes, because those rounds are only 30 seconds long, and in 5 minutes, everybody in the room just dump it.
Yeah,
it's a 30 seconds at 100%, not 100%, but at like a good 80%
go time. Yeah.
And they're able to do it without getting hurt because you're not going for submissions.
Right.
Yeah. It's not a submission class. Sometimes we'll have a submission style class, but it gives people that you can kind of describe it as swimming. The intro class is like walking somebody down the steps into a pool. The fundamentals class is kind of teaching them how to tread water a little bit. And then the advanced or mixed level classes are where you teach people how to swim hard, and maybe even you take them out in the ocean and they see if they can stay afloat out there. So, it's hard to ask everybody, like most jiu-jitsu schools, to just get in the ocean. Hey, let's see how you do,
Right.
Because if that panic hits, 3 weeks of panic without any real like basic instruction, you got a class full of you guys, Lamar, like brown belts and purple belts and blue belts, and you guys are hungry for flying omoplatas and stuff. and the new guys like, hey, what was that snake thing again?
Right. What was that movement thing on the ground again?
Please.
Right.
But he's just getting smashed. It's really hard to avoid those guys getting discouraged. And so, just trying to cater to everybody based on their experience level is what allows us to have a higher percentage. Like we have a super low dropout rate. And I attribute that to people having the option. Hey, if you don't feel like you're ready to come to the mixed level classes and spar with me and Professor Brandon and Coach Mike and Coach Marco, then feel free to stay in the fundamentals class or drop in for an intro class. Don't feel like you have to be bumped up right away. And that allows us to get more people to the level that we want to get people to, instead of just like, hey, hopefully we got a tough guy with this one and he'll be able to make it. That's a hard way to run a business. That's a hard way to teach people jiu-jitsu. So
yeah, definitely. Because you want everybody who's trying this out to feel comfortable. You know, you don't want them to feel like, you know, their first couple classes, they have to get out there and swim with the swim with the sharks, you know, because that's very discouraging. Because like, I don't know what I'm doing. You want me to go roll with, you know, 2 or 3 people? I can barely, you know, move on the ground. You want me to roll?
Bobby Bluebelt just tapped me 6 times. And I don't even know what he did.
Times with the same move.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, I guess I'll be back tomorrow. But how long can they do that? Yeah, for sure. And it's hard to cater to everybody with high level guys like yourself, and I'm sure you've got some lower level guys like that 3-stripe white belt who probably needs more escapes or more transition work or something like that. It's hard to satisfy everybody. So
yeah, because we were literally just I had taught a class yesterday, and I was talking to my wife about this because she started training like a little bit after I did, but like COVID happened, and then in the midst of all that, you know, we had our second child, so she was off the mats for a while, so she's like back full time now, and we didn't have this many white belts in a very, very long time. So it's like when, you know, it was maybe one or two white belts for a minute. Now we got like 5. So it's like we're not used to having the fundamentals class. We're used to everyone at least being a blue belt or the one white belt who's just tough as shit, you know, rolling with us. So we're like, okay, boom, we're just doing all straight techniques. So now that we got like more white belts, you know, I decided to kind of like to put a class together. We haven't decided a date just yet because we're trying to figure out what day it'll work for everybody. Where, like you said, it's just strictly fundamentals. Like no rolling. We're just gonna be working snakes, positions, terminology, the basics, the kindergarten stuff of jiu-jitsu that you should know as a white belt.
And that's how you get those guys to join your club. Join by your club, I mean join the club of the higher belts, where they're able to get out of training what you guys are getting out of training, instead of them trying to, you know, wade through this forest of advanced techniques looking for like, how do I get out of side mount, you know?
Right.
And so having that class, and I would suggest giving it like a revolving period where you teach the same stuff for you teach a set thing for class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to class like 15, 20, and then it starts over and you go back to class 1 and you teach that class 1 again. That allows people who join your club to jump in at any point, and they can still make sure they get all of that material that you deem super important for those new people. Instead of like, oh man, too bad you didn't join last week. We just did side mount escapes. You can say, hey, we're going back to side mount escapes in 4 weeks. Stick it out. You're going to get everything else. And then 4 weeks from now, we can go deep dive on side mount escapes.
Right.
But it's hard. It's hard to do it if you just show up to the academy and you're like, what do I want to teach today? You know, which is a lot of what I've done in the past. Now it's like, okay, now I got to be like, all right, I've been doing north-south a lot. Now people are starting to get out of north-south effectively, but they're all ended up in side mount with their knee shields in. Okay, let's talk about things that you can do once you have your knee shield in and your hand frames on them, and lines 2 and 3 on them, and then you can get back to some sort of an attack. But you know, having some sort of structure is so hard to get in jiu-jitsu because it's such a big, complicated game.
Yeah. Because it's like, you know, everyone is at a different level. Like there's no 2 white belts are the same. So it's like, you know, you're trying to break down how to properly do elbow knee escape. And these, you know, they're like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? And it's like, okay, well, you are doing this wrong and this person is doing that wrong, but you're trying to figure out how to universally teach it. So it's like, all right, we need a fundamentals class.
But we need
extreme fundamentals.
When you teach it 3-4 rotations, right? Like I said, like have a set amount of classes and then restart, you will have in your notes. You'll say, okay, last time I was in there, so-and-so kept putting his elbow on the mat when he shouldn't. He kept forgetting to do this. He wasn't getting his head away as soon as he got his knee shield in. And the guy kept like reverse cross facing him and locking him back in. And so for the next time you teach that, you're like, hey guys, here's some common mistakes people make when they're doing this. And that first round, you're not going to have those common mistakes. It's going to be kind of like a rough structure, and you're going to be looking for those things. But by the second or third time, you're like, hey man, I remember what everybody's mistakes were from last time I taught this. I'm going to make sure as I'm teaching, I'm like, hey, here's a few mistakes most people make here.
Right.
And it seems to cut it off at the pass. You don't let them get to that mistake before they are aware of it. And then you go, hey, remember what I said about letting them get that reverse crossface? You're doing it. You got to get your head away.
Yeah. I'm about to. Yeah, that sounds like something I would definitely do. It sounds can't go wrong. It's foolproof.
Yeah, I never used to make notes at Professor Mike Tomaselli's. His style is so precise. He's such a great teacher that I felt like I could absorb the techniques and just embody them, and they'd be part of me, and then I move on. And at the time I could, but now when I'm responsible for so many other people and their comprehension of it, I need to be a little bit more detail oriented and be like, make sure, this is, once you do this, then you can do that, instead of like, here are the 4 things that need to happen. You're like in this order so that they work the best for you guys. But yeah, I think notes are really important. There's something called the Jiu-Jitsu journal. You can buy it on Amazon.
My wife got that for me for Christmas. I mean, no, I'm sorry, not Christmas, for my birthday.
Oh, it's good, man. It's good.
Yeah. I was like, where was this at 6 years ago?
Where was a lot of this stuff 6 years ago?
I know, right? Like, where was this 6 years ago?
Yeah, I remember I was a blue belt or a purple belt 2010, 2013. And, we still weren't doing leg locks with anybody below purple belt level. And nowadays, Can you imagine a school being like, oh, you got to be a purple belt before we teach you leg locks? And then they go online, they're watching Fight to Win. Everybody's getting submitted with heel hooks and dog bars and all this nonsense. And, they'd come back and they'd be like, hey, why aren't you guys teaching us leg locks? It seems to be everything that's working right now. And so, you got to evolve with the times. So the game is changing, and we have to with it.
Got to, man. You got to evolve, man. You'll be stuck in the past. Yeah.
So you have plans to open your own school, or are you happy to stay with Professor Holston?
It's one of those things that's kind of been up in the air, and I love the idea of opening my own school. Obviously it's going to be what we do now. And me and him talked about it so many times, and he's been like cool with either idea. He's like, if you want to, open your own school, you got my support. I'm gonna help you any way I can. If you want to stay here and teach, you can. So it's kind of one of those things, like I said, it's in the back of my mind, but I haven't gave it a lot of thought yet.
Yeah.
So,
well,
I love the idea though.
It can be a source of great pride. It can support your family. The biggest thing that I think we did that made it more of a support your family thing is advertise and make sure that you, in those first 6 months, you got to spend, what was it, about $1,000 a month on advertising, just to make sure that the people in your area know that, hey, we're a jiu-jitsu school. We specialize in getting people started. Come by and check us out. We guarantee you'll enjoy it. And, just by advertising, it's been, it's grown to, we're a huge school. I would say that humbly, I would say we're the 3rd largest school in Hawaii now in 8 months.
Wow. I was going to say, it's such a short time. That's amazing.
With one school. There are some schools here who have 3 affiliate academies, but any one school, I would say we're the 3rd largest school. And, I would say we have somewhere in the range of 250 white belts. And so having that many white belts is a result of us focusing on people starting and being willing to show them all the details that we wish we had been shown front and center when we started.
Oh man,
Instead
I know,
of,
right?
man, there was this guy at Tomaselli's named Christopher Schalmer. He's a great guy. His nickname is the Buffalo. And this is the 230-pound Marine who Mike was sparring with on the day I dropped off the tile. And
Oh wow.
you know, I just got my butt handed by that guy for like, I want to say 10, 11 years before I started, you know, having a moment here or there, surviving the whole round, you know, making him panic when I go for something. But, you know, if I had been handed, you know, the white belt blueprint, you could almost say, you could see how somebody could get ahead sooner in terms of survival instead of just, you know, having to learn from their death over, like Kenny in South Park, you know, you just die in every episode, you know.
Every episode, man. It's like, dang it, man. I keep getting caught. But
every time,
definitely. But man, so well, you know, you've mentioned a lot of, you know, big names that you've trained with, but I usually ask this to everybody who's on the who's been a guest on the show. Your top 3 people you would love to roll with.
Ooh, that's a great question, because we now, having this academy, we have the opportunity to bring in people for seminars, and we live in a destination state. And so most of these are going to end up being people that I get the chance to roll with. I've had the opportunity to roll with Clark Gracie, Joe Moreira, Mike Tomaselli, Cub Swanson, all these, Rafa Garcia, you know, all these guys. But you know, I would love to get a roll in with, and I missed the opportunity. He was here a few months ago doing a private with Professor Brandon, my partner, Marcelo. And, you know, I would just love to get to feel if I can get anything done, you know, because it just seems like his prevention until his attacks is so good that, you know, a lot of us have to invite people in to and like give up something in order to get our attacks going. It doesn't seem like he has to do that. I would love to get a roll in with Gordon, obviously, and just see what happens, because, you know, I don't think I'm bad, and I would love to just see, like, who's the best guy in the world right now in the no-gi, and I would love to see where I fall. You know, I'm sure I would get tapped, but it would be inspirational for me to actually get an idea of how close I am to him.
Right.
And that being said, I would say the best in the world in the gi would still be Hodger, and I would love to get a roll in with Hodger, man. That guy seems to have an answer from everywhere. And,
everywhere.
Yeah, and he's an incredible instructor. He has a really, really great school in the UK. I would love to visit there one day. But yeah, I would say it'd be Marcelo, Gordon, and Hodger, which kind of like rounds out like that top 3 maybe of all time, in my opinion.
Really? Yeah, that's a very solid list, man.
How about you? Who are you rolling with?
Oh man, you know, it's like everyone says Gordon Ryan. I would love to roll with Gordon Ryan. Ryan Hall was another guy. And it was like a mix up between, like, you know, Brandon Ortega.
I rolled with Brian Ortega, actually.
Really?
Yeah, my buddy, my friend who I started with, I told you we were rolling in the living room. Brian's a Henner and Hedon guy, so it might have been 3 weeks after I got my black belt. Cub was actually getting set to fight Brian Ortega. I think this would have been 2017, 2018, maybe. I can't remember exactly the year. It might have been a year or 2 after I got my black belt, but I went over there and got the chance to roll with a bunch of their black belts. And then at the end, it was Henner. Henner called me over and he was like, "Hey, you're friends with John, right? Yeah, why don't you get a roll in with Brian?" And we were about the same weight. He guillotined me 3 times in a 5-minute roll And I got done, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I have something concrete to go back to Cub with. I went back to Cub. Cub's manager and I are really good, or former manager. He sadly passed away a few years ago. Kami Safdari. I went to Kami and I said, Kami, you tell him to watch out for that guillotine because it is nasty. And what did Cub end up getting caught with? But the guillotine. And I think that moment, that occurrence actually pulled me into their camp a little bit more because they were like, oh man, this guy might not be too bad. He kind of called that. So, I just, Brian's really strong for his weight too. Really strong.
Yeah. Very, man, just smooth. So smooth.
He fights at 145. Who else was it? Nuts.
Crazy. Who else was it? Obviously, like Andre Galval, he's another guy. Because for him to be such a big guy, he just moves so smooth.
Yeah.
And just very, very technical. I love those. I love those technical guys like that. I mean, there's a plethora of other people because like my list changes from time to time, but those will be my main group of people I would love to row with. And I always say like the people who I've met through the podcast, I would love to eventually roll with everybody. But
actually, it'll probably happen between you and I because we got the family.
Yeah, connection. I know, right?
So one day, if I'm ever in Michigan, I'll make sure I stop by Professor Holston's school or maybe your school one day. And
man, I would love to have you, man. Love to be blessed on the mats with you for sure, man.
Yeah. My partner, Professor Brandon, actually has showed me that the reason all these guys are so smooth and so quick and that their technique seems so clean is drilling. This guy drills a lot. And the things that he drills, he does very quickly, very smoothly, and very precisely. And knowing is not enough. Repetition is the key to doing something well. So, drill, and anything you drill, you are going to get better at. So
that's so true. That's so true. All right, Garrett, man, if there's anything else, man, you got any questions for me? If you got anything else coming up for the school, for yourself, man, by all means, man, the floor is all yours.
Well, who are some dream guests for you to have on the podcast? I listened to several of your episodes. I actually listened to the last one that the gentleman, I'm sorry, I forget his name, but he moved from Hawaii, from Maui to I want to say Idaho.
Yeah, Joel. Yeah.
So that guy, super entertaining podcast. Seems like a great guy.
He's a real cool guy.
Dedicated family man. So I have an 8-month-old son, and listening to him talk about that negotiation with his kids to get to training, it was really useful for me. I really got entertained by that. But I wanted to say that although Hawaii got really weird for a hot minute due to COVID, their jiu-jitsu community continued strong, had a lot of underground training, a lot of people who didn't buy into the BS. But the problem here is that they associated people who continued with regular life as not caring about what we call here the kapuna. The kapuna is what they call their elders. And as we all know, they were actually pretty vulnerable to COVID due to the lack of vitamin D, I think. But the association with continuing normal life and not caring about the elderly was something that still today I still see people driving in their car with their masks on. I still see people walking the neighborhood with their masks on. And it's something that's just gotten in there deep, and it's
the new norm now.
It's a real shame, it's just a lack of education. It's just taking everything at face value and trusting the voices that tell you what the truth is, instead of you doing a little bit of research yourself. And I hope soon that Joel can come back to Hawaii, or if he's having a lot of success there, then that's a great place to be. Idaho's beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm
Well,
sorry. I know. No, what's up?
go ahead.
Now I was because we kind of went on tangent. I was trying to remember what your question exactly was.
I was
Oh, dream guests. Dream
who your
guests.
dream guests are.
Oh man. I
I think
don't
you have to
know.
look at it not in jujitsu ability. I think you have to look at it the ability to communicate jujitsu and
Yeah.
and their experiences.
Yeah. I mean, I just been having so much fun just talking to just anybody and everybody about jujitsu. Cause I think someone else asked me that question too. Like, man, you're gonna get somebody famous on there one day. I'm like, well, the people I talk to right now to me are famous because we share this common goal of jujitsu. They have a passion for it, just like I have a passion for it. So these are my superstars. You guys are my superstars because I've never met you guys, and you guys took time out of your busy day to talk to me. So I'd be excited. Like when my alarm goes off when I got an interview, I'm like, yes, this person responded back. And so, yeah, like I said, you guys are my superstars for sure.
Well, that's sweet.
But if anybody wants to get on the show, I don't care, big or small, man, I would love to sit down and talk to anybody.
Yeah, well, it's really good that you do that. I listened to a couple other episodes with blue belts, and you get that perspective of those guys who are still in that heart of the journey, where we actually spend most of our time early in our days of jiu-jitsu, where that perspective is so different than your perspective or my perspective on the art. And it's so important for me to be able to listen to somebody with that perspective so that I can kind of apply that to my students. What this person's struggles are. I probably have a student who's struggling with the same thing. Got a guy in the school who rolls really rough with them, and he doesn't really know exactly how to handle that, and just be able to, because I'm watching it, I'm like, oh man, look at this guy get roughed up. But being the guy getting roughed up has been us, and even though it's not us now, it's easy to lose that perspective of like, man, he's probably driving home without the radio on, thinking about every tap. So just being able to hear that again is so important. I think you're doing something really important for the instructors out there, and those of us who are still earlier in our journey to kind of hear the struggles of each other and grow and learn. I really commend you for starting this podcast, Lamar. I think you're doing a great job.
Man, I appreciate that, man, because it's because everyone that came on the show that's like lower than purple belt, they're like, well, I'm a blue belt or I'm a white belt. I have nothing to talk about. I'm like, you definitely have something to talk about.
You might have the most to talk about.
Yeah, you have the most to talk about because you're fresh into this. It's a whole new world for you. But yeah, I've talked to a lot of white belts, a lot of blue belts, purple belts, black belts, and just all just everything in between, man. It's been a very fun experience for sure. And I do appreciate your words of kindness, man, because sometimes I'll be like, man, what am I doing? Like,
Well, you're
is this
kind of
all
doing
this worth
market
it?
research, man. You're kind of doing market research. And if you look at this, you're talking to people of all ranks, all backgrounds, all locations across the country. You're learning what people are looking for, what their goals are in jiu-jitsu. Is it self-defense? Is it community? Is it physical health? Is it mental health? All these things that you can learn and just ask people. That, even though this is an art and this is our passion, this is also a business. And so being able to cater to each person and fulfill the need that they have, that they're trying to fill through jiu-jitsu, it takes so much courage to walk into a jiu-jitsu school. And where you get that courage from is the problem you're trying to solve. How big is that? DVG, by the way, stands for David versus Goliath. And all of us have a Goliath, and jiu-jitsu can help us become the David that's gonna beat that Goliath. And it's just all about finding out what your customers or what your students' Goliath is to help them become the David that can slay it. So
amazing.
I think you're on a great path, man. I don't see a reason why you couldn't do anything in jiu-jitsu from the path you're on.
Man. I mean, it's just come with human nature, the doubts and worries. But yeah, man, I love every time I I sit down and do an episode, or I go back and edit, or just re-listen to them, man, I get that same happy feeling as if I'm there for the first time. So,
well, you're doing great. There's no dead space. Anytime I had a moment where I ran out of something to say, you jump right in with a great question or a great conversation continuer, and like you're a great interviewer. You're doing awesome.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
that.
Yeah. It seems like you prepare, and like you've done enough of these where like, oh,
Yeah.
what's that guy talking about? Because we all love to talk.
Right. But yeah, man, this has been because I only been doing this for not even a year. I think my first episode was back in like November, and I just been grinding them out ever since, man.
Yeah, but you can get a Taekwondo black belt in like 2 years. So it depends on what you're grinding at, how long it takes to get to black belt level in that thing. Jiu-jitsu is a complex art, so it takes a lot longer. But don't think about everything as jiu-jitsu. You got to think about it like, all right, how many?
It's so hard to not to.
I know. It's so hard not to. I'm not even a blue belt at this thing yet.
I'm not even a blue belt at this. I was about to say that. I was like, I'm not even a blue belt at this shit.
Yeah, for sure. And it's hard to not think about everything in terms of that 10-year journey or 12-year journey. But think about it like Taekwondo. It takes only a couple of years to get a black belt in that. You only need to know like 10, 12 kicks. So maybe that's the way the podcast game is. You don't need to know everything. You just need to be able to do what you do really well. So
yeah, sounds like that's what it is, man.
Buddy. Don't discount yourself.
Nah. Like I said, man, I appreciate the words, man. It was definitely a pleasure talking to you, brother.
Same here. Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on, and I love getting the opportunity to talk to somebody who's just as passionate about jiu-jitsu as I am.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely stay in touch, man. And that's the end of today's episode. I would love to thank Garrett one more time for coming and blessing us with his jiu-jitsu knowledge. I hope you guys gained something from it. Please go and follow our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube page to stay up to date on all future episodes. This has been Talk Your Jits Podcast. Keep rolling, keep grinding, and remember, long live jiu-jitsu. Have a great day. And we're done, my brother.